What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Philly Frenzy podcast. And tonight we are doing a first-round mock draft of the NFL draft. Rob and I will be doing a back-and-forth draft, putting each other on the spot, not knowing who we're picking. I'm going to be having the odds, and he will be having the evens. We also have a special guest, Mr. Jellyfam here. Just to step in, say what's up, and make fun of us while we're going along here.
Yes, because I know nothing about the draft and the guys that are in it. I'm just here to support.
What's going on, Rob?
Not much, man. Ready to do this thing. Ready to out GM you, bro.
Yeah, should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. I mean, I got lucky here. The first pick of the draft belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have the Jaguars selecting quarterback Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. It's not that difficult. I think Rob would have had the same pick. 400 million people have the same pick. The number one pick was not something
it's already a lock.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Everybody knows it's a lock.
I got a question on it. Is he really that good? Like, I've seen some of his play. Like, I watched a little bit of college football. Is he really that dominant?
He is.
Like, I'm not saying for college-wise. Like guys, they look great in college-wise. I'm talking about for the NFL-wise.
No.
Is he that dominant?
No.
I think he's a lock at the NFL level. Matt
No.
doesn't. Matt's about the only person
Why?
in the country
I caught clips of him and everything. I never watched like a full game. Like, I caught clips on ESPN and all that stuff. Like, speed-wise, accuracy-wise, like how do you guys what tier do you guys put him in? Like, who can? I'm not saying you could like really compare him, but who do you guys like kind of compare him to in the league already?
Andrew Luck.
Andrew
with
Luck,
a stronger arm.
Okay. He has a little bit of footwork with a little bit better arm.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more athletic. Andrew Luck.
I'm singing a different tune.
I'm gonna have a lot of questions, Matt. I'm sorry.
You're good. I'm singing a different tune. We actually just recently on Tuesday broke down the top 5 quarterbacks in this draft, and I honestly believe he's the third best quarterback in this draft. But he will be going number 1. There is no question about that. Do I think that the other 2 guys I have ranked ahead of him should be going number 1? No. But I feel like they're gonna have better futures, and I feel like they're both gonna have a bigger impact their rookie seasons compared to Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
Okay.
With the number 2 pick, the New York Jets are now on the clock. Rob, this will be your first choice.
They are selecting Zach Wilson again. This has pretty much been locked in for over a month now. That's their guy and that's who they're taking. So, no real shockers here in the first 2. Number 3 for me is where it gets interesting to see where you go with San Francisco's pick that they got from.
Now, just for my benefit, can we just name, like, when you guys call out your picks, just name off what position they play?
Yes, we could do that.
So Zach Wilson is the quarterback from BYU, Brigham Young University.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, this third choice, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. They received this choice from a trade that they made with the Miami Dolphins about a month ago. I went back and forth on this pick. The third pick in this draft will be quarterback.
Hold on, let me do this. Let me do this. Do 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 do.
The pick's in. The pick is in. Quarterback.
The pick is in.
Quarterback from Alabama, Mac Jones.
Now, are those the 2 guys that?
To him.
Do you guys think those are the 2 people that you think are better than the first overall pick?
No,
Matt.
No,
Okay.
Mac Jones is both towards the bottom of the 5 quarterbacks for us, but he's very ready to play now. Probably more ready than almost every other guy. And San Francisco's got a great roster, and Kyle Shanahan wants to win right now.
Right.
So that's why everybody has them leaning towards him. Plus, they went to both him and the general manager of the Niners went to both of his pro days. They've been scouting him heavier than everybody else.
Gotcha.
But His upside is he's very ready to play now, and he's uber intelligent as far as his football IQ.
Now, is he more of a pocket QB, or is he more of
Yes.
like a
Pocket quarterback all the way.
He's a pocket guy.
He's a statue.
Now, do you feel like that will fit in with the West Coast style offense, kind of, or
Yes.
because I feel like more West Coast style offense, like you look at a Colin Kaepernick kind of thing. I know, like whatever, Colin Kaepernick's whatever, but like more like he can get on the go if he has to make a play. You know what I mean? Like just like off that split second kind of thing.
See, that was one thing that I did put into consideration when I made this choice at 3 with San Francisco. That a West Coast style offense is usually more of a mobile quarterback. One thing that we have seen with the head coach in San Francisco is that he's had a ton of success with a pocket presence quarterback in the West Coast offense in Matt Ryan. I believe Mac Jones is probably the closest thing to Matt Ryan when it comes to a pure pocket passer in this draft and who's available on the board.
Right. Okay.
So
the fourth pick
get a little interesting here.
The fourth pick of the draft goes to Atlanta.
This is possibly my toughest pick of the entire draft.
Now, what are their needs?
So, I believe their biggest needs are all on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
And I think there's too much offensive talent valued at the top of this draft for them to just take the best defensive player on the board at 4, because there's some teams that are hungry for these quarterbacks out there. Now, there have been rumors that Atlanta themselves may be staying at 4 and taking one of these quarterbacks. I don't believe
they're thinking my name is Oreo. Huh?
I don't think they need a quarterback. I think Matt Ryan's still got some years left. The offense wasn't their problem last year. They couldn't stop anyone defensively. So the number 4 pick is officially on the trading block with the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm open to hearing teams from Matt's side that want to move up. There also may be teams on my side that want to move up, but we'll kind of determine who we think the best, most likely candidates are.
Now, why do you think that the trade there would be a trade on the board if they didn't want to go with the best defensive player that's on the board?
Because not to get it, I don't want to specifically say like what I think they're going to get, but because 2 of the quarterbacks are still on the board, and they're guys that some of these teams behind them seem to covet, and these teams have quarterback needs, and Atlanta doesn't. The amount of capital back that Atlanta is going to get to move off of this pick is going to be super helpful for their defensive rebuild. So I got them moving back, and unless Matt comes in with a different offer, the team on my side that I think is going to jump up in a surprise grab is going to be the Carolina Panthers at 8.
You think they're going to go with a veteran? They want to trade for a veteran, or they want to?
I think it's going to be a draft capital thing. They're going to look to get multiple picks between the rest of this year, between 2 through 7, and then next year.
Okay.
And
see, I'm gonna have a lot of questions.
You're good.
Basically, I'm gonna have them in Carolina swapping 4 to 8.
Wait, hold on. I'm on the phone here. I'm on the phone. I need to move up.
All right, who's calling?
New England's calling. New England is calling.
Okay, we're taking the call.
If New England, all right. So if New England, and realistically, if you want to break this down, I know you said that we're not going to break it down fully on what kind of offers there would be, because we don't actually know. But if we take an idea of what happens from a guy or a team that's in the teens and then moves up to the top 5, you're talking about New England's first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, a third-round pick this year, and possibly a second-round pick next year.
They would give up all of that for that pick?
For their quarterback.
Wow.
I think it would be between those 2 teams. People are counting Carolina out on moving up for a quarterback just because they went and acquired Sam Darnold. To me, that doesn't have them out of looking for a quarterback. That just gives them a bridge guy in Sam Darnold who possibly could have some upside and become a starter, but they're really not paying him much to figure out if he is or not. So don't put it past them to take a quarterback. But I think they're more likely to wait and see if one falls to 8. So I will go ahead and say that the New England Patriots have just moved to number 4, and Atlanta will now be back at 15, and I'll make that pick later.
All right, so with the 4th pick in the draft, the New England Patriots select quarterback out of North Dakota State, Trey Lance.
Yep. So that's going to set. It's a guy that one could definitely benefit from being in the same quarterback room as Cam Newton, who they brought back.
Which is why I think if he's there, you make that deal.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think that Cam Newton's not going to pay out?
No.
Or do you think
when you look at Trey Lance, Trey Lance has a lot of the same physical attributes that Cam Newton has. Trey Lance is a better Trey Lance is a better quarterback when it comes to arm talent, in my opinion. If you could get him into that quarterback room and you have him sit down with Josh McDaniels and you have him sit down with Cam Newton for a year, you're looking at Cam coming off of a contract year, letting him walk next year and letting Trey Lance take it over.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Basically, I think they brought Cam back to be the transition guy between somebody if they can get him in the draft this year. So I'll agree with that move. That sets you up back-to-back picks here. So you got the Cincinnati Bengals at number 5.
All right, now the Bengals are on the clock. There's been a lot of chatter that they're going to take Jamar Chase, the receiver from LSU, to pair with Joe Burrow. After having the injury last year with Joe Burrow, I believe that they will do the right thing and they will draft offensive tackle from Oregon, Penny Sewell, the best offensive tackle in this draft, the best offensive tackle that was in last year's draft and next year's draft. So they're going to solidify the left side and make sure they got a big guy that's going to protect him for 10, 11 years. And hopefully we don't see another injury come out of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that's the correct move for them. I think they really have to look at this and go that, they have to know their organization is going to move as Joe Burrow moves, and they can't afford him to be injured. So you have to get this guy protection. And like you said, Penei Sewell is the highest rated tackle to come out in years. This dude would have been the first tackle off the board if he was eligible last year. Is going to be probably the first tackle off the board this year, would be next year. Kid's a stud, so Cincinnati is getting a great player there at 5, possibly one of the most talented players in this whole draft.
All right, so Miami's now on the board. Rob, this is your pick. I don't want to jump in real quick, but because it isn't my pick, do you think there's at 6? Could Miami move out of this pick like they've already done with what was it? 3, move to 12, then move to 6. Do you have? I know you said this before, and it wasn't with Miami. Do you got Jerry Jones calling right now?
It's been a thought because there have been a lot of reports that Jerry Jones is absolutely in love with the tight end out of Florida, Kyle Pitts, and the fact that he's currently still on the board at 6, to where they would have to give up some to move up, but maybe not a ton.
Yeah.
And I think Miami did well with bringing in Will Fuller, so they're pretty good at wide receiver, and they have a good tight end, so they might not be valuing these guys as high as some of these teams behind them, and they might move back. I think Miami's biggest need is elsewhere besides tight end, and so I was thinking about them moving back to 10 with Dallas. I've also considered that there's still one of the quarterbacks on the board. And there's a team back there at number 9 that you're drafting for that I wanted to see if they were on the phone possibly as well, because I think they might be more desperate to move up than Dallas.
I am not calling.
You see how Rob is trying to play the draft right now. He's telling you, oh, you got a team back here and this.
Yep.
See, he's trying to move your picks around. See, don't let him get in your head there, Matt. Don't let him get in your head.
I'm well aware, and I'm not making that phone call.
Though, Rob.
Okay. I am going to have the Dallas Cowboys jump up to number 6 and Miami move back to 10. Miami just gaining more draft capital. And then the Cowboys are going to move up to number 6 to select tight end from Florida, Kyle Pitts, who is probably the best overall talented player in this draft.
All right, so with pick 7.
Oh, GM Rob.
With pick 7 here, if I'm a Detroit Lions fan, I am excited. I'm jumping for joy.
Yep.
I get the next Megatron. We let Kenny Galladay walk this year. We're drafting LSU's receiver, Jamar Chase.
Yep.
There's no questions. The best receiver on the board. Was not expecting him to be at 7. You know, I was going back and forth. I thought, I was going to have to pick a receiver from Bama, maybe move out of the pick. But, the board worked out in my favor. I'm going to get my guy. Jamar Chase is now going to be in Detroit.
You better do a good job, Matt, because you got all that Eagle gear on. I don't want to see you fall off. You gotta. If you do bad in this draft, you got to burn all that shit.
Look, we did this the smart way, so I can't even choose for the Eagles because I would have had the Eagles jump up to number 1, make a trade, and go get Trevor Lawrence. All right, with the 8th pick, Rob, you are now on the clock as the Carolina Panthers.
As I stated, I believe the Carolina Panthers are still looking at quarterback. And with this kid being somebody that they've had their eye on and falling right into their lap at the 8th spot, they're going to go with quarterback from Ohio State, Justin Fields.
Okay. That kind of ruined my 9th pick here. But
I'm aware.
It's all right. I thought I was going to get him to slide to me at 9. But
I told you to get on the phone at 6. You didn't listen.
It's all right because I'm going to – with the 9th pick, the Denver Broncos will select cornerback Patrick Surtain Jr. out of Alabama.
I think that's a good pick. To me, he's the most ready corner coming out. Part of that has to be, attributed to the fact he played in the SEC against top competition. He played for Saban in Alabama. That's, those guys are ready to play when they come out of his system. So I think it's a fantastic pick for them.
All right, now on the clock after the trade earlier with Miami here at 10.
So, tough still. I think Miami has to take a hard look at this. I know they're going to be tempted to go after one of these position guys from Alabama that are still on the board. But I think their biggest needs are on their offensive line. They need to keep Tua out from under pressure. The kid can't play under pressure. And so they are going to take guard/tackle. I mean, he's played both in college at a high level. Rashawn Slater from Northwestern.
All right.
Oh, you don't sound too happy with that pick. You don't sound like as ecstatic. You haven't been sounding as ecstatic as Matt has. Matt's been, we're taking this pick right here.
Matt, see, the thing is, Matt is he's letting
I know what it
his
is. I
emotions
know what
be
it is,
on,
Rob. You're
on the
playing chess.
forefront here.
You're
Oh
playing
yes,
chess.
he's playing
He's playing
checkers.
checkers. I got it. I got it.
100%. I am so happy if I'm Miami that I was able to move back, acquire even more draft capital, making them. I think if they can move this pick back again to here, they're going to have more draft capital than anybody going into the rest of this draft and the next draft. And they are getting the second best offensive lineman in this draft in Rashawn Slater. Um, and some people have him ranked above Penei Sewell only because Slater can play both the guard and tackle. If you're talking about strictly as a tackle, Sewell is leaps and bounds better. But the versatility makes Rashawn Slater a little bit more interesting. I think he's going to play guard for them, but he may play some tackle. I think they may try him out everywhere, but yep, I'm going to go ahead and stick with Rashawn Slater, Northwestern. You're up, my friend.
All right, so I've really
With
gone
the number 11.
with
You got the New York Giants here.
with the 11th pick. I got the New York Giants. You know, there was one point in time when, if you guys saw our first mock draft, I actually went corner here. I've gone back and forth with the idea of taking an offensive lineman. But with the 11th pick in this draft, I'm going to have the New York Giants select defensive tackle out of Alabama, Christian Barmore. Losing Dalvin Thompson this offseason.
Wow.
They lost Dalvin Thompson this offseason. They need to replace that they need to replace the inside defensive line help. You're now going to put somebody who is a run stuffer, who, in my opinion, can be a game wrecker, sort of like somebody like the Eagles have in Fletcher Cox, and putting him alongside Leonard Williams. I feel like they're building from that defensive line that needed a makeover bad.
I agree.
Are you sure?
I have no idea. But I like how you're talking, so I'm gonna go with
it. He's a good player on the interior. I think that's a reach and a half. If the Giants really want him, they could trade back and get him.
The issue I was looking at.
Go ahead and do that.
If you're there at 11,
I love it.
If you're there at 11, I was looking at a possibility of trading a pick. But when you look at some of these guys, I'm not going to really throw out names because I want them to be on the board when I go to select them for the teams that I have. Some of these guys, or some of these teams are looking for different positions. So if the Giants were to drop back, you could probably move them into anywhere between 19 to 23 and probably still walk away with Barmore. But if another team comes up and jumps them, I don't want to put myself in a situation where now I'm going, who's the next defensive tackle on the board? Or do I go away from this position when I really think defensive line is one of the most important parts in putting the Giants in the right step to actually winning this division?
I don't think it's a terrible pick as far as need for the Giants. I just think he's a guy they could have moved back and gotten. But I understand your logic of just staying there and taking the best guy at one of your biggest needs. So I don't disagree with the pick wholeheartedly. But so at number 12, I got your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, on the clock.
You better pick good up. You better pick good up and drop New Jersey.
Well, here's the thing. I think they're looking for a receiver. Both the receivers from Alabama are still on the board.
Yes, so you accept this phone call.
I also hear they're very interested in moving out of the 12th pick, because they think they can get a position of need further back. There's also talk
a quarterback like every year.
One team that has said they are going to be aggressively trying to trade up to pick a wide receiver, even though they're already loaded at wide receiver and on the offensive side of the ball, is at 16 the Arizona Cardinals, which is a team I control. But I did hear Matt say he's got a phone call for me, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
also willing to listen to who's calling.
Oakland's calling. Or Las Vegas. I want to move up. I want to move
That's
up.
a dirty move.
I want to move up to here. I want to move up because I'm looking at this draft order, and the guy that I want may not be there at 17.
It's rough because I haven't heard much from Vegas wanting to move up. I've actually hearing a lot of reports that they're not super hype on a lot of the guys that are going to be in the first round. They think around their area. But maybe if one of those guys is available here, they would trade up. But just based on the fact that we actively know Arizona is trying to move up to get one of the guys that are on the board right now, I'm going to switch with Arizona. And Arizona is going to move up to take the Alabama receiver Devontae Smith.
Okay.
Again, I have no idea why Arizona is trying to move up to get a receiver, being that they have a talented receiving core, but that's been leaked within the last week out of their camp that they're actively going to try and move up to get another receiver. So they're going to move up, and that leaves number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers, are on the clock.
This is another one where we could play the move back, move up game here with the Chargers. I'm going to make the selection, and I'm going to take offensive tackle Elijah Vera Tucker at a USC.
He's another tackle and guard hybrid.
I feel like I might have been able to move back a little bit and grab Tucker. The scary thing with moving back with moving back and then trying to grab Tucker is that we're getting into the middle part of this first round, and a lot of teams look for that depth on the offensive line help. And if they don't feel that there's much talent left on the board, they go and they start building from their offense and defensive lines.
Yep, I agree.
So, Rob, you're going to be sitting here with 3 picks in a row, starting with the Minnesota Vikings.
So the Minnesota Vikings, very simply, are going to be taking the best offensive lineman left on the board. A guy I believe is a little bit better than Elijah Vera Tucker, not as versatile, but they strictly need a tackle, so they're going to be taking Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech.
I was just looking at him. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go him or Tucker, but I like Tucker because he could play guard and tackle.
Yeah, and he's been linked. It also makes sense. Los Angeles, USC school. It makes a lot of sense that the Chargers have. The Chargers scouting staff has seen a lot of that kid, so they're going to go with the guy they're familiar with.
All right, so here at 15, you are sitting with the Atlanta Falcons after a trade down early in the first round.
Man, the Atlanta Falcons need help on defense. That defense is absolutely atrocious. I am going with the best defensive player I believe left on the board, and that is cornerback J.C. Horn.
Okay.
I think their secondary was absolutely abysmal last year. J.C. Horn got great size and athleticism. Gotta remember they're in a division with a lot of tough offenses, so they have got to get better on defense. They were able to do that and gain draft capital to possibly use in later rounds to also acquire more defensive help. So that's where I'm at with that.
And then at 16, you now have
Miami, who still
not Miami.
Who do I hit? No, it's not Miami.
Philadelphia.
Trade back with Philadelphia.
After the trade earlier, you have Philly.
Who still gets a player of need with the other Alabama receiver, Jalen Waddle, slipping all the way down to them. It's a guy I think is high on their draft board anyway, and they were able to just acquire a bunch more draft capital between their two move backs here. So it's going to benefit them going forward, trying to get some youth into that roster and get better.
All right, so 17, I'm on the clock. I got to just watch 40 people fly before I got to make a selection. So I got the Las Vegas Raiders. I wanted to move up. I got lucky. I didn't have to move up. I will be taking the best defensive player in this draft. Linebacker, Michael Parsons. I believe Parsons
definitely
is the best.
I want that kid to fall to Vegas so bad.
This is the guy where when you said Philadelphia was fielding phone calls, if you're the Raiders and at 12, if you have the possibility to jump up to 12 and you could grab Michael Parsons, because I do feel like it's going to be a reach that I got him at 17. But if he's there...
I've actually seen him fall to the Raiders in a lot of mock drafts, only because a lot of the teams in front of them don't. Their biggest need is not linebacker, where it is one of our biggest needs.
All right, so Michael Parsons at 17. He's coming to Las Vegas. 18, you're on the clock with Miami.
I am back on the clock with Miami. Had them address their offensive line earlier. Getting, I think, one of the better guys in the draft. So, they do have some need, I think, as far as edge rusher goes. So, right here, I got them taking Kwity Paye, edge rusher from Michigan University.
Yeah, I hate you for that. It's a good pick. I can't really say much. That's kind of where I was looking at 19. But with 19, I do have the Washington football team. They are looking for an edge rusher along with a linebacker. This is probably the most talented linebacker in the draft. I'm going to have them take the linebacker from Kentucky, Jermaine Davis.
Yeah, this is a guy who's been flying up draft boards. For those of you who don't know, he wasn't even getting talked about early on going into this draft. And as more and more teams have discovered his tape, he's been flying up the draft boards. There's talks teams are considering him over Michael Parsons. That I don't quite understand. I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit. But super talented kid, so they're getting a great player there. Especially this late in the draft.
At 20, you have the Chicago Bears.
Really tough with the Bears. I think they're looking at line. I think they're looking at quarterback. I think they're looking at wide receiver. They need corner help. They need offensive line help. But a lot of the help they needed has been drafted in front of them. But I do think there's this pretty talented kid down here at corner that still hasn't come off the board, and I think they're going to go Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech,
who I believe could be tick and tack with Surtain if he doesn't have the injuries.
I agree.
All right, so with 21, The Indianapolis Colts are on the board. You know, my guy Carson Wentz is in Indy. I'm going to do something that the Eagles didn't do for him the whole time he was in Philadelphia. And I'm going to address the idea of giving him a little bit more help on that offense to put alongside Michael Pittman and T.Y. Hilton. I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts select wide receiver out of Minnesota, Rashard Bateman.
Rashard Bateman.
Who, in my opinion,
really talented.
In my opinion, is not far off from the top 3 wide receivers in this draft. One thing with Bateman is he struggled a little bit when you take his speed compared to the top 3 guys. And that hurts when you're drafting in the top 10, top 15. But when you're sitting in the 20s, a guy like Bateman, if you're going to try to get him and put him in a receiving core with Pittman, I feel like that's kind of the best fit receiver-wise on the board.
When Carson Wentz. He's washed.
I'm not even going to say anything to you. The 22nd pick. Rob, you got the Tennessee Titans here.
Man, the Titans need help in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They also need a wide receiver. After losing Corey Davis, they could use corner help. They got toasted defensively. I think part of it was their corner play wasn't great, and I think the other part was that they were one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL. Kind of tough where I want to go right now, but I really think that they need help at the corner spot, and I'm gonna go Greg Newsome the second from Northwestern.
I need to know. Can you see my my computer screen?
No.
Okay.
I can only see your ugly mug.
All right. Because
I told you I was going to
That's good, folks. That's good, folks. I know what he's on. He's on Pornhub. You don't want to see the computer screen.
I just brought up Greg Newsome. I was looking at his stats and his 40 time, trying to get an idea with the Jets on the clock here. 23. There's a few things that I'm looking at they need. I'm going to take Penn State fans are going to be mad at me with this one. I'm going to go at 23. I'm going to have the New York Jets select edge rusher from the University of Miami, Jalen Phillips.
Okay. I actually don't think that's a bad pick. I know I'm on the clock now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they need. I thought they needed a quarterback, but they're not going to do that here. And foolishly, I think they brought back a washed-up Ben Roethlisberger. They could use offensive line help. They could use some pass rush help too defensively. But I think there's a pretty talented tackle still on the board. Again, an offensive line matters in this league, especially if you got to protect that aging quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm going to go Stanford's very own Walker Little.
Not a bad pickup. I think there's one guy. I really think there's one guy ahead of him. I do like Walker Little. At one point, I want to say last year, Walker Little was actually up there with Penny Sewell for a little bit.
Yeah.
As the best tackle in this draft. So, I mean, if he is that close with Penny Sewell and turns out to be that good, Stealing them at 24 is huge. Here, I'm sitting at 25 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. This pick I was not expecting to be here. I'm going to take safety. TCU, Trevon, how do you say it? Moehrig?
Moehrig, as far as I'm...
Trevon Moehrig, safety from TCU at 25 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay. I believe I am on the clock.
26 with
Believeland Browns.
Yes, sir.
I am not going to be able to pronounce this kid's name pretty much at all. But I think they're going to take another guy to help that defense out. And if this kid pans out, their pass rush is going to be real scary. He's all around probably the best outside backer in this draft. He plays inside and outside backer, but I'm going to take Jeremiah Osua Carmoa. I don't know how to have you pronounce this kid's name out of Notre Dame, but yeah, I'm going to take senior linebacker from Notre Dame.
All right.
This kid's he's a great coverage linebacker, and they were really bad in coverage last year, especially to tight ends, because of bad linebacker and safety play. They addressed safety in free agency, so I think they're going to go with a coverage linebacker that can play kind of inside-outside coverage linebacker for him.
All right, I'm gonna follow suit here at 27. I'm gonna have the Baltimore Ravens select linebacker out of Tulsa, Zaven Collins. This kid isn't.
He was somebody I was thinking about with Pittsburgh as well. He's very talented.
He's a guy that literally I feel can play anywhere on the defensive side of the ball. Very athletic. One thing that Baltimore likes doing is getting athletes on the defensive end or on the defensive side and letting them turn loose. So I feel like if he ends up slipping, because I've seen some mocks where he's not there at 27. If he ends up slipping, that's going to be a spot where Baltimore gets a nice, talented, young, athletic defensive player.
Absolutely.
So, at 28.
I think there's more talent in this draft than some people want to say.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
I know I am on the clock here with New Orleans.
Yes, number 28.
They need help defensively. They need help at receiver. I think Sean Payton is going to be licking his chops that this kid falls to him. And I think Sean Payton's going to be able to do more with him than any other coach in the NFL could. I am going with the speedster out of Ole Miss, Elijah Moore.
All right, so I get to keep my heart in my chest right now because my heart started beating a little bit when you said receiver. Elijah Moore, I do like him going to the Saints, but I got it.
I just think that if anybody's looking at that kid and seeing what a weapon he could be, it's Sean Payton.
Completely agree with you. So here at 29, I'm sitting here with the Green Bay Packers after watching their terrible corner play, besides Jair Alexander. Some people would have said it was a reach before the pro day. He is a little undersized, but he's by far the best player on the board at the position that they need. I'm going to have Green Bay here select Asante Samuel Jr. late in the end of the first round.
Yeah, I think he's a late first to early second round talent. So isn't necessarily really a reach, and even if you want to consider it a reach, it's by far probably their number one position in need, other than the fact that they can't stop the run either. So they had to go defense here. So I would give you a pretty good grade for that pick.
All right, so here at 30, you have the Buffalo Bills. We getting our first running back off the board?
Oh man, no, you're not. Um, I think Buffalo could use a bit more of a pass rush. I think there's some good pass rushers on the board still. I think you can get a good running back in the second, third, fourth round of this draft. So I am going to have them going with edge rusher Jason Owe from Penn State.
He was a guy I was looking at earlier in the draft. I ended up taking Phillips over him with the Jets. He's very talented. If Buffalo gets him at 30, I feel like they'd be very happy that he fell that far down.
Yep.
So here at 31, my last choice in the first round, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting wide receiver 6'3" Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU. This could be a guy who comes in and possibly looks like Justin Jefferson. I think he's that talented. I don't mark my words. I'm not expecting him to walk in and be Justin Jefferson 2.0, but to me, if you look at any of these guys in the draft, the 5 receivers, 6 receivers that were taken in our first in the first round of our mock, I feel like he's probably the closest product besides Jamar Chase to being ready to produce right away in the NFL.
Okay, I could agree with that.
At 32, you have the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So not only are they the Super Bowl champions, but they brought back their entire starting roster. First Super Bowl team to do that since like 71, I believe, or 72, something like that. Crazy. I strongly believe their biggest position of need is safety. This isn't a great safety draft. Javon Moreg is really the only one I have an actual first round grade on. And you may very well end up seeing Tampa Bay trade out of this pick and trade back into the second round. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go with the guy I believe is the second best safety in this draft from the University of Washington. It's going to be Elijah Moden, safety. I just think it's really their only big need right now that they need more good play from. So other than possibly taking a quarterback, but again, all those ran off the board, and there's no other first round talents at quarterback. So if they don't trade out of the pick, I would have him taking Molden out of Washington. He's just the next best safety on the board.
All right, so that concludes our first round mock draft of the NFL. Jill, do you have any questions? I know you got quiet after like 15 picks. About damn time. No? Okay. No questions from Jill, which is always good. Rob, it was a good draft.
Yeah, I think there were some different picks and surprise picks from each of us in a couple spots. And a lot of these picks, once you get past really like 4 or 5, it's really up in the air what these teams want to do. You know, we did quite a couple trade backs, but those are, you know, they were all teams that are looking and advertising that they're looking to move out of their spot. So I don't think we did any egregious or crazy trades that won't you couldn't possibly hear, either happen or hear that they were on the phone with end up hearing that they were on the phone with each other, but it didn't get done. So to me, I think overall I'd give both of us pretty good grade on this draft.
Yeah, we both did pretty good for not knowing who the other one was selecting. Definitely a lot faster.
I mean, I think I won, but
it's all right. You can have the win. Yeah,
I mean, I'm the winner all around. Anyway, I got to watch my Raiders get the guy I wanted to get at 17.
I had no questions because I had no idea.
Yeah, once we got past the big names, Joe got a little quieter.
Yeah, so I feel like we did a good job with this. Like I stated, Thursday we possibly are going to cover the first round. It all depends on my new work schedule as I start my new job this week. So we will probably be switching around some of our weekly shows to different days or different times just to make sure that we are firing on all cylinders. So once we have my official schedule, I will be dropping the official schedule of the podcast right away so you guys know what's going on. The same time, really, me and Rob know what's going on. Rob, do you have anything you want to say before we let everyone go? And when I mean everyone, I mean one viewer.
Just tune in tomorrow. We're doing a recap of a very exciting UFC card. So,
yes, and spoiler alert: Rob and I both went 3 for 3 on the picks. But This was fun. Thanks for coming out. Philly Frenzy out.